ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो वैष्णवाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। Continuing our reading. Today we read 223. Now we continue with 24. अच्छेद्योयम अदा मदा अच्छेद्योयम अदाह्योयम अक्लेद्यो सोषये वचा नित्य सर्वागतस्तानुर अचलोयम सनातनः। Continuing the Sankhya. Achedyoyam adahyoyam. Adahya means unable to be born. Achedya, unbreakable. Already the same thing is spoken already, but Krishna is repeating once again. Nitya sarvagataha. Sarvagata means gone everywhere. Everywhere. Sarvagata means all pervading. Okay, how the small soul can be all pervading? It's not that one soul pervading. Different souls pervading and different places. Sthanam means unchangeable. Achaloyam, immovable. Ayam, the soul, sanatanaha, extremely, eternally, sanatana, eternally same. This being spoken here. Translation: the individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble. Somebody may say, I'll put different chemicals and I'll solve it, dissolve it. Can neither be burned or nor dried. Is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So Prabhupada did not have purport for this. So Vishnu purport is there. Translation of Vishnu Bhagavad. The soul cannot be cut, cannot be burned, cannot be moisture or dried. Eternal, traveling in all the bodies. Okay, this what is it? Sarvagataha is spoken as traveling in all bodies. He is moving. Another meaning is Sarvagata means souls are everywhere. In the sun also souls are there, moon also souls are there, souls are in the air, souls are in the water, everywhere souls are there. That is one explanation. Another meaning of the same word Sarvagata is traveling in different bodies and stable. So this translation and others as well as according to the explanation of the words given by Srimad in his commentary. Each Acharya may have differing opinion on the meaning of a particular words. So this particular now Sarvagataha can have different meanings. Okay. It said every word of Sanskrit has 12 meanings. The soul cannot be cut, cannot be burnt, cannot be moistened, right? It's eternal, traveling in all types of bodies with fixed form and fixed qualities. Okay, I'll read the purport, other purports all of you can read. All these qualifications of the atomic soul is definitely proof that the individual soul is eternally atomic particle of the spirit's whole, and he remains the same atom eternally without change. The theory of monism. Monism is very difficult to apply in this case. Correct, no? Monism is not applied here because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. After liberation from metal contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the effulgent rays of Supreme Personality, but the intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the Supreme Lord Personality. So foolish souls may want to be entering into the Brahma Jyoti and stay there. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The word Sarvagataha is significant because there is no doubt that all the living entities are all over the God's creation. See, this is what Prabhupada gave explanation. They live on the land, in water and air, within the earth, and even in the fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living entity everywhere, becomes yeah. Now, one thing is recently the scientists have found out something called fire bacteria. Fire bacteria actually stays in the sun. The fire bacteria they found out it's living there. Okay, who all are here? Nikhil Prabhu, read that purport.
Yes, sir. Not being affected by any of these weapons, the Atma is thus called respectively by the appropriate names: uncleavable, unburnable, insoluble, and indissoluble. The word Eva indeed applies to all items in the list. The Atma certainly cannot be cut, burned, moistened, or dried. The Atma is called all-pervading, Sarvagatha, because it accepts all types of bodies, such as that of man, Devata, bird, beast, one after the other, according to karma. The Atma also possesses a fixed form, Sthanuhu, any unfixed qualities, Achala. The Shruti says, Avinashi Vareyam Atmanuchiti Dharma. This Atma is indestructible with eternal qualities. Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad 4.5.14. One cannot interpret the phrase Anuchiti Dharma to mean simply having the quality of indestructibility, since that would have the same meaning as Avinashi, mentioned previously in the same sentence. The meaning is the indestructible Atma has eternal Anuchiti qualities, Dharma. Sanatana in the Gita verse means eternal. The reason for this fault of repetition or redundancy of words, the word Nitya has already been mentioned in the verse, will be explained in the next verse.
That redundancy, it looks like the same thing is spoken, you know. Ajo Nitya Shashvatoyam. Ajo Nitya Shashvata. All the three are meaning the same, but they have their context. That's why they are spoken. So that will be spoken in the next verse. Avyaktoyam achantyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmat evam viditvainam nanushochitam arhasi. Okay. It is said that the soul is invisible. Invisible. It's spoken already. So what foolish scientists are saying? We are going to see the soul, if at all it is existing. Inconceivable. You cannot conceive it. Immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So you should know this and not grieve. The imperceptibly small, pervading the body, inconceivably. So, see, invisible because it's imperceptibly small. Inconceivable because it's pervading all over the body, right? The consciousness is pervading the form of consciousness and without changes, immutable, no change. Knowing this, knowing it does, you should not lament. Imperceptible, inconceivable, without changes. Not that. Okay. Now, may not read the purport.
As described previously, the magnitude of soul is so small for our material calculation that he cannot be seen even by the most powerful microscope. Therefore, he is invincible. As far as the soul's existence is concerned, no one can establish his existence experimentally beyond the proof of Smriti or Vedic wisdom. We have to accept this truth because there is no other source of understanding the existence of the soul, although it is a fact by perception. There are many things we have to accept solely on the grounds of superior authority. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon the authority of his mother. There is no source of understanding the identity of the father except by the authority of the mother. Similarly, there is no source of understanding the soul except by studying the Vedas. In other words, the soul is inconceivable by human experimental knowledge. The soul is consciousness and conscious. That also is the statement of the Vedas, and we have to accept that. Unlike the body changes, there is no change in the soul, as eternally unchangeable. The soul remains atomic in comparison to the infinite supreme soul. The supreme soul is infinite, and the atomic soul is infinitesimal. Therefore, the infinitesimal soul, being unchangeable, can never become equal to the infinite soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. This concept is repeated in the Vedas in different ways just to confirm the stability of conception of the soul. Repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error.
In many verses, Krishna is repeating the same theme of how the soul is indestructible, soul is actually it cannot be visible, avinashi, it cannot be destroyed. So all these things are again and again discussed in order to make it very clear and not to leave any room for useless speculation of these impersonalists. So in order to do that, Krishna already did it through many verses. He is actually nailing the same thing. So that is one reason of repetition. So I'm going to read this.
Therefore, the Atma is described in this way. Taking the description of the previous verse, it cannot be cut, burned, dried, or moistened. The repetition of the word signifying the eternal nature of the soul in this section, such as the use of the words Nitya and Sanatana in this verse, and the statements of previous verse, is for the purpose of precisely defining the soul for those of confused intellect, just as one will repeat several times in order to make certain that everyone understands. This is the dharma of Kali Yuga. This is the dharma of Kali Yuga. Sarvagataha, gone everywhere, means that the soul goes into all sorts of bodies, such as human, animal, and deva by its karma. Note, the other meaning is pervading everywhere, but this meaning is not taken since the subject is the jiva, who pervades only his own body. Stanu and achala have the same meaning, having stability. Note, Baladeva explains Stanu as having a stable swarupa, and the repetition makes the meaning clear.
People may think that no, sarvagataha, stanu, so they may be meaning the same thing. Now, the difference between every word he's saying. Basically here, sarvagataha meaning actually it's gone everywhere and all the different kinds of body. And achala meaning what? Having stability. Stability means having a fixed swarupa and a spiritual body. So like that, every meaning, every word may also the same mean the same. We can bring them to one concise in one sense, but still they have their own specific what do you call specific meanings of those words also, which will differ from the other word, like that. Yeah, read complete this.
Yeah, because it is very fine, it is called avyakta because it pervades the body with consciousness. It is called achintya, beyond conception. Being devoid of the 6 changes, such as birth, it is called avikarya.
Now see, it looks like, okay, avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, avikarya. So these words are spoken. Oh, they all mean same now. Why again and again Krishna is saying? So the meanings are different. In a single sense of that word, that particular word, avyakta means it's extremely fine. It's called achintya means it cannot be perceivable in the beyond conception. Then avikarya means beyond the 6 changes. So the meaning is given by the acharyas. Vishnu Chakravarti is saying. Also, I will read this also completely.
The Atma is not perceptible by the material senses. Avyaktaha. It is beyond logic. Achintya. Being understood only through scriptures. By scriptures, the Atma is understood to be Gnana Swarupa, knowledge itself, and a knower of the things. It is not subject to the 6 changes. Avikarya. The Lord, in the teaching the nature of the Atma with such statements as Avinashi,
Avinashi Tadvidhi,
had used repetition of words such similar meaning in order that the Atma, which is difficult to understand, can be easily understood. Thus, this is not a fault, or the repeated words can be explained as useful for ascertaining the real nature of the Atma. To the extent that you know the nature of the Atma, evam viditva, with certainly you will no longer lament. The Lord will explain next with the words such as how others view the Atma.
See, now this is very important also. It's being same thing is being repeated. It may look like that. Why it needs to be repeated? See, avyakta, it can be avyakta meaning also means one thing is it cannot be seen with the material senses, but it has another meaning also. Avyakta means it doesn't have a personality kind of meaning also, people can get it. So the other words which will actually what do you call this, compensate or complement the actual meaning of the soul, because soul cannot be seen by anyone, because it cannot be perceived. So different varieties of meanings and different words are used in such a way that the complete picture of the soul can be understood by the reader, because it cannot be perceived through any other means. We have to hear and understand, that's all. We cannot perceive it by any other means. That's why the many words are used. That's what the Acharyas give explanation in that way. Now, one thing is, we all now, after understanding so many years of practicing, actually, all of us can clearly see, right? The consciousness is very easily seen. Atma has a consciousness which can be elevated. What is our consciousness? When we came to Krishna consciousness, when we came in touch with the devotees, what is our consciousness? What about today? What our consciousness is? We are living like practically cats and dogs, but we were bathed, we were nicely decorated by nicely combed and decorated and nicely actually made to eat nice things. Can anybody of us think of touching meat again? Actually not, because our consciousness is raised. Even the jivas, the other bodies have life. How can we kill them and eat them for our own sense gratification? So this kind of understanding has come. The consciousness has developed, evolved. Now the same mistake will not be happening. So consciousness is evolved, but consciousness is owned by the spirit soul. So in the human body, this consciousness can be raised to a sane man. Actually, divine consciousness can come back. Property of the soul, which is the innate quality of the soul, can be brought back through what? Through this only, through the process of developing consciousness by chanting the holy names, by actually associating with devotees, hearing from great souls like Prabhupada and many disciples and many other devotees. Hearing from them, we can actually raise our consciousness. So now it's very clear now. Who can deny now? After chanting and after, so some sort of understanding of what is soul we have got, right? So this is what, without chanting Hare Krishna, it's very difficult to get to this understanding. Not possible in one sense. But we have mercifully devotees have allowed us to be there with them and nourished us, nurtured us, convinced us, given us so many explanations, and as well as so much time is given, opportunity is given for present and devotion service to Supreme Lord. We all are blissfully situated right now, much more blissful compared to where we were. So happy to be with all of you who have actually very sincerely, seriously growing in your own Krishna consciousness. We'll come back and read the next verses tomorrow. Are there any questions for today? The properties of the soul only we saw 2 verses today. Once we complete this Sankhya, then we'll see Buddhi Yoga as well as very interesting Buddhi Yoga, and coming up later after Buddhi Yoga, the qualities of the person who is self-realized soul. So that I'm going to listen. Thank you all very much for assembling. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.